Hi, I'm Caroline, a school teacher living in London who has chosen Scotland as her summer holiday at home for 2020. I've already experienced so much, from easy walks that gave big rewards through to big walks whose rewards came more from personal achievements. I've enjoyed some downtime with friends on some of Scotland's well-known white sand beaches, ticked off some of the typical tourist sites that I wanted to see, and gone in search of both marine wildlife and the animals that roam the land. In today's episode, we're right at the tip of the island, taking a walk around the Butt of Lewis in search of a lighthouse and being pleasantly surprised by some of the things that we see along the way. Good morning and welcome to our second day here on the Isle of Lewis and Harris. Today we have driven all the way to the very top of the Isle of Lewis to something called the Butt of Lewis, where there is supposed to be quite an impressive lighthouse. We haven't driven all the way up to the lighthouse at this point. We've actually stopped off at what seems to be a deserted children's playground. There's a really nice coastal walk that takes you up to the lighthouse. By the looks of things behind me, there's some sand dunes. We are supposed to be getting some sunshine today. It's been peeking through on the journey up from Stornoway, but it is starting to drizzle just as I've turned on the camera now. It's typical Scottish weather. We are hoping that we might have slightly better weather today than what we have done over the last couple of days. Fingers crossed. So this is a beach that I can't pronounce. Like or Ripey Beach. I don't know, but again, it's more deserted beaches that are absolutely stunning. The waves though here today are crazy. I'm not too sure if it's maybe like a surfers area. Do you know if it's like popular surfers?
Probably, it's windy enough.
Cool, let's keep on walking. I was expecting for all of the beaches and the turquoise waters to have been a bit further south in Harris, and I think that coming up to Lewis, it's surprised me somewhat. Looking down there, okay, it's not like a pure white sand beach, it is a little bit more yellowy, but you can still really see how crystal clear that water is, and it's still got that turquoise effect, and I didn't realise that it would be like this far up on the landmass. The Butt of Lewis is apparently the windiest place on the British Isles. When we first started walking, I thought, oh, maybe we've just come on a really nice day because it's not actually that windy. But as soon as we've come up a hill, we've realised that the one that we started on was quite well sheltered. This one is a lot more exposed. The wind's really picked up. But of course, as soon as we've come over this little mound, we've got the lighthouse now in the background. So from a distance, it already looks really spectacular. The walk has been beautiful so far. We've just followed the coastline around, going into bays and then back out. Just towering cliffs that we're walking along. We're having to be quite careful because the grass is a little bit on the slippy side. Obviously one wrong step and we could go tumbling into the sea. We've just got these stunning views down onto sea stacks, and the amount of seabirds, they've been really cool just to watch as they've flown in and then back out again. But I'm eager to get over to the lighthouse, so we'll keep on wandering. To make it to the lighthouse. This this lighthouse, unlike most in Scotland, is actually constructed in its entirety of brick and is not painted. It was built back in the 1860s. Like most lighthouses, it was constructed to be able to try and keep the fishermen safe from rough seas when they weren't able to physically see the land. This lighthouse was actually one of the last ones in the UK to become automated. I was really shocked when I found out that it was 1998, so just 2 years before the millennium, when this stopped being a manned lighthouse and it became automated. And that just seems crazy to me. I mean, I was using the internet by 1998, and yet the idea that somewhere in Great Britain had a lighthouse that was still physically manned, I don't know, it just seems really backwards to me. We are at the most northwesterly point, I believe, of the British Isles at the moment, so going out to sea, I think if you go that way, there's nothing until you get to Newfoundland and Labrador in Canada. And I think if you go north of here, we were trying to work this out, we think that the next landmass that you might hit potentially is going to be the very far east of Russia. But I think that's something that we need to go and actually look up on a map, because we're not 100% certain. There's just nothing really around here. We really are out on the very, very edges. Like with most of the things on the Isle of Lewis, the lighthouse is closed due to COVID-19, and I think similar to what we experienced on the Isle of Skye when we went to the Old Man of Storr, the local council is taking advantage of this quiet time and they are doing works. So that's been a little bit of a shame. What was quite interesting is that the family that lived here and the assistants who worked in the lighthouse as well, they were really very self-sufficient and they had their own livestock and vegetable patches, and it was actually a very tough life to be a lighthouse keeper. And it's just crazy to think that up until the very late 90s that there were people in our country who were still having to live in those kinds of conditions where they were just so isolated from society. They had to be that self-sufficient. One thing that I do give the building works people props for is their good sense of humour. There was quite a funny sign up in the workman's office building with regards to selling ice cream, so I give them props for that, even though it did spoil, I suppose, the tranquility of it with all of the loud machinery going on in the background. Pretty good time on the walk this morning, much better than what the notes saying it would take about 2 hours. So we were just taking it a little bit leisurely because we do have some plans for this afternoon. We've got a bit of time to kill, and just as we were walking back along the main road, there's a little gap looking down through the cliffs, and I just spotted the most beautiful turquoise water. And the further around we got, I realised that actually there was a beach down here. So we've made our way down. I think we were just sort of coming down to have a look, see what was down here, and just further out where this bay opens out to the rest of the sea. There's been loads and loads of seabirds that have been diving down into the water to try and catch fish. So we've ended up just sitting down on the beach and having a bit of a snack on H Valley bars, which we love, watching the seabirds diving and just listening to the waves lapping up against the sand. It's beautiful. Again, it's yet another almost white sand beach, beautiful turquoise waters, and it's this lovely secluded bay that's sheltering us really well from the wind. Not a single person's come down here, and I'd say we've been here for a good 20 minutes already. I feel like this island, I don't know if it's like a COVID-19 thing and we just don't have as many tourists, but you know, some of the locals that we've spoken to, they've said yes, whilst there's not as many international tourists, there's more British people who are coming. So I don't know if it's like this all the time, but I'm loving how peaceful these beaches are and how we just have them completely to ourselves. to come over the next few episodes, I'll be continuing to explore the Isle of Lewis as I take to the seas going in search of wildlife. I'll explore the history of the island, spend a rare sunny day enjoying almost deserted white sand beaches, and take a tour of a real mom and pop style distillery, finishing with an amusing tasting, not having tried whiskey before. If you've not done so already, be sure to hit the subscribe button so you can join me in my Outer Hebrides adventures.